Good evening, everyone. Welcome to God's Way, YTVY, the spiritual viewpoint. I'm your host tonight, Thomas Knights Templar, and to my right, tell them who you are.
Josephine, the opulent godmother. I'm filling in for our beloved, gracious host, Josephine, wishing you a rapid recovery.
Josephine had broke her foot, and she'll be out for a while. And I guess we'll go to the right first. Tell them who you are.
Introduce myself.
Yes.
I'm Geozuwa, ascended healer, master hypnosis instructor, here to wake up the world, end the cycles of dysfunction.
And the cyclist, it's funny, I like that one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
There's a lot of that. And to my left, Stephen, tell them who you are.
I'm Stephen Popiotek, or Popiotek, exactly.
See, I didn't say that tonight because somebody took us to task on Facebook.
Cosmic shaman, Kabbalist, Egyptian magician, which rhymes nice.
Egyptian magician.
I like that one.
Is that a new title?
I'm telling you.
Well, Egyptian magic was one of the cornerstones originally. So
Was it?
Yeah, yeah.
Was it?
That and like the Kabbalah work.
Who's that priest that they had who did all of that stuff?
Thoth or
Yeah,
Tehuti?
is it Imhotep?
Oh, Imhotep was one of the architects, sacred architects.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so let's get on topic here. All right, I guess we'll start. I'll start with you then. Okay. What we were talking about earlier, we were talking about grids and galactic connections to the Earth. And I seem to notice myself that there's a lot of influence on people in power. And the influence is not really good. I mean, is that from bad ETs or ones that don't have our in mind? They want to see us be like sheep or be, I mean, what is with that?
That's definitely a very involved topic in itself. I mean, I guess it's a two-part question, right? And start with like the grid part first. But I mean, no, they are interrelated in the sense that you'll find that a lot of these power points in the Earth, which there are different types of grids that are around the Earth. For example, in the old school days, like during the Platonic period, Plato had also discussed that he believed that the Earth was also had a shape of a dodecahedron around it, and that's one of the 5 Platonic solids. And there have been many scientists and many groups over the decades that were researching where if you would overlay some of these geometries over the Earth, make it a little more spherical, curving it, where would these points fall? Are there interesting anomalies? And there's been a lot of people finding interesting things along the way. For example, they put a icosahedron around it, where they would overlay it over the poles first, like 2 of the faces would be centered there. Other ones would line it up also with like Giza Plateau in Egypt, and they find that if they do this, it marks out the points of many other ancient megalithic sites, as well as mineral deposits, different edges of a dodecahedron. These Russian scientists discovered were basically corresponding to a lot of the seismic fault lines across the Earth,
fault lines
and like the ridges and stuff, and where the energies would come in and out. So there's a physical side of it as well as the energetic side, where like the vectors of pressure, in a way, of energy coming out of the Earth that creates that's part of the geometric energy, can create different effects and create doorways or portal points. So a lot of there was this hidden stuff going on during the Cold War with Russia and the U.S., where they were mapping out, especially these dodecahedron points, and trying to see how they can manipulate it. And so you'll find that a majority of bases, underground bases that we have, are fall under some of these sacred points, or like a fractal version where you can scale down, say like a tetrahedron around the Earth or dodecahedron, and kind of fine-tune like the local areas where it intersects it.
Do you think that the underground bases are using the power grid of the Earth, of Gaia, in those particular areas?
The real power grid, for sure.
Because I know that the 37th parallel that runs through the United States along the south.
A 33rd?
30-something. I think it was 37.
There's definitely a 33rd one that goes there, through like Roswell and the whole
it has
Middle East.
all those things, and has all those military bases.
Yeah, 33rd.
51, 52.
Yeah, 33rd, yeah.
And all of that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
What do you think about that, George? I'm George Joshua. Wow. I can't even say a simple name.
Well, absolutely agree with Stephen, but also on the other hand, since we are in an accelerated time of ascension and people are waking up and people continue to increase and raise their frequencies and vibrations, actually everywhere they go and in their homes, they are creating portals, they're creating vortexes, they're creating, and a lot of times, a beautiful bubble of energy in their home, around their home. And you could do that just with your mind, your imagination, with pure positive intentions. You can create that in your home, wherever you go. If you work in an office, here in the studio, and I'm sure you get that experience as well. Wherever you go, things are happening. You know, like even like electronics are getting interfered with, and right now, since we are in this accelerated time of ascension and reality is shifting moment to moment, our ability to manifest is happening like this.
That's true. That's true.
Very true.
Talk about the electronics. I was on the phone with Aldefina today. Like she called me. We were talking right in the middle of the conversation. Cut us off. I call her back. She can't get through to me. I can't get through to her. This is going on for about 15 minutes. Then finally, I get through to her, and she's on with me, and her end cuts out. I mean,
You sure she wasn't just hanging up on you?
Well, that was the popular conception. People thought that. She says,
It was the other grid.
It was the
Depends on the reality, I guess.
It was infinite possibility.
Oh my God.
Yes,
She
absolutely.
She
So
could have hung up on me.
But
You better not. I'll break that other foot.
have any of you here experienced speaking to someone, whether it's on the phone, usually it happens on the phone, where all of a sudden it's like, you know the old tape recorders? I don't know if I do the sound. I'm not good at sounds. I'm not good at sound effects. Have you experienced that lately? Because a lot of that is happening, and only a few individuals, like we could be in a room of 10 to 30 people, and only like 2 or 3 people will hear that.
Yeah.
No one else will even be affected, but have you experienced that yet?
Yeah, they're not on the vibrational level. That's why you
Right.
don't hear it. When we talk, we talk like almost every day. And it's the same thing. We get cut off all the time.
Aside from the
Depending
NSA.
on
All the time.
conversation.
But we won't say who that is.
Yeah. No such agents.
They're the good guys. Okay.
But I also agree with what he had said before in terms of like being able to access the planetary grid through your local establishment. Like that's the main thing we also do when we do like group meditations, or for example, those of us in New York in the warm season, I do group meditations at the obelisk in Central Park. Also because the obelisk was originally moved from Egypt and put on a sacred ley line kind of points, which would help intersect into larger parts of the global grid. Originally by the Freemasons.
I keep on hearing it.
Oh, I'm sure I must have been. But the point is there that, you know, the idea is to be able to open up and work shamanically with the 4 directions, different ways you can do it. But it has to do with establishing it like a local sacred space in your area, in your body, in your mind, and the different elements, so that you create more of a compatible frequency space to invite the different angels or galactic allies into the space, and more of Mother Earth's energy can come up and fill your volume of intention, right, to kind of help plug in to what you want to help create and attract by that magnification of the placement, you know, of the energy flow.
Of the energy flow, yeah.
Right, I do that from my couch.
Yeah, that's nice. Well, I do it in my apartment as well for
right.
sessions.
I've been in isolation for a while.
I
so
can certainly attest to that.
I do while I'm in the sauna.
Yeah, nice.
In the sauna?
Yeah.
Good. Was that me, myself, and I?
No.
He's always got to go.
I know, where's he? He always goes somewhere.
That's my speciality.
He falls the line down.
I do it everywhere I go. So
Okay, all right.
I'm doing it right now.
Are you doing
Yeah,
it?
it's like being
All
walking
right, we're all doing it right now.
He's got his
There you
clothes
go.
on, he's in the sauna, it doesn't even have a wrinkle.
Thank you.
walking
What?
pillars of intention of that light.
Yes,
That's true.
yes. The ley lines you were talking, not the ley lines, the grid lines that you were talking about, do those vortexes and do those portholes actually tear them, or they have to be repaired, or do they require anything like that in order to function properly?
Does what tear them, you said?
All right, Gaia has. the
Yeah,
grid
Gaia,
line.
yes.
Okay, so when somebody punches a hole
Oh,
through it,
gotcha. Mhm.
something's got to be done about it. Who's doing the repair?
Yeah, well, it definitely else depends. I mean, she's pretty resilient, but there's definitely a lot of technologies that have been, I mean, myself and other people working on different clearing out and accessing remote viewing and seeing some of these different agendas the past few years, especially where the different powers that be have become more desperate and more clever and more creative in their attempts to
Oh,
try
clever is right.
and trying to keep the old matrix more of a false grid overlay to the actual natural grid in order to try to keep people locked more into lower frequency vibration. There's also been a more higher dimensional 4D grid, one of the grids we're working a lot with, and I was traveling around the past few years doing some activations in different countries to start to trigger some of these vertex points of a hypercube, basically a fourth dimensional cube that has 16 points. And there were interesting stories of places we're going to activate them. And there are different groups that have been trying to hack into that and siphon energy from it. But so we've been doing more very recent work to try to add more of that protection and more of the sanctity. So
Well, those groups that are trying to get the energy from us.
oh yeah, so it's one way to kind of plug into the collective, and then since we're connected naturally to Gaia's electromagnetic field, gravitational field, hyperspatial fields, and they're trying to access that back door. So we need to put our divine intention to help clean the house of Gaia from those influences, so that we can bring in the new beautiful, what we call like the star heart. It's like a star heart diamond or higher octahedron. Diamond-like field of divine love energy that helps us connect to other planets.
That's the diamond-like that we connect to with our...
Yeah, we're each, and it can be a diamond shape, it could be sometimes a wheel with crystals around it, or like almost like a tic-tac-toe pattern in the heart chakra, or like the old breastplate. But the idea is that each of these chambers helps us receive new love from different star systems, from other planets. It's basically like our tutorial of learning to receive more love from more of the creation that has, and that is part of the unified whole, and being able to expand our own parameter to be less in division and more in unity, So.
Well, primarily the love and forgiveness is probably the biggest thing that you can do. All right,
Absolutely.
people, yeah.
Forgiveness is one of the biggest, most powerful healing tools.
Jaguar.
You come Jaguar? Like that.
Yeah, you call me a lot of names.
Tell them about
Some past life stuff going on.
Well, forgiveness, I mean, it clears, I'm here to get rid of all the cycles of this negative karma. It was a system put in place a long time ago. On one level, it is a system of control. If you follow that law of karma, it's going to... for lack of a better, it depends, because there was a usefulness to the system, but that usefulness has outlived itself. We are no longer in any need whatsoever. Like a lot of astrology as well. It's like it's a guide, an influence where we are on the planet, right? But now that we're waking up, where the world is waking up and we are in that accelerated time of ascension, we don't have to go along those influences. We don't have to accept. And by the way, and one of the things that I'll always ask is, have you suffered enough? Who here has not suffered enough? Right? Whether you're 15, 25, 85.
Back there.
Are you sure? So, it doesn't matter what age you are. But you've served your sentence. You've suffered enough. You've paid your debt. All karmic debt you've paid up to right here, right now.
I'm married, brother. I know what suffering is.
Well, you may have a while to go too, so I don't know.
Thank you. Thank you. What do you think of
I've
that?
been married for 30 years. I've always found it to be pleasant.
Wait.
It's a pleasant union.
You like him.
That I do.
That's why I'm still single, open relationship.
I do a talk show here at the studio, Soulmate Talk.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's right.
I saw
Make a
that.
little
Steve,
bridge
are
to
you
that.
looking for your soulmate?
Right, we can make a little bridge for that, right? I definitely found many over the years, but
Good for you. Good for you.
Soulmate's on a grid line right now.
Oh, yeah. What
He's
grid
trying
would
to
that
get
be?
there.
I don't know, what bar is that?
The actual,
Where are you going?
The actual grids we were talking about, the
Yes.
Earth grids, there's energy points all over the world, and what was told to me in the channel that the pyramids have started up again. All the pyramids around the world have started up again. Machu Picchu, all these places have been re-energized, and they started now, and they're connecting again, like Tesla saw the Earth connected.
like towers in a sense.
Now that Earth energy can be harnessed.
Absolutely, because we're basically sitting in that.
What they don't want us to do that.
That's why they want the
They
5G
could.
networks up.
They don't want to. The they.
Tell
they.
them who they is.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of they. And it all depends. The powers behind the powers behind the powers.
It's a
I don't
fractal T and they.
I don't like to talk about the darkness. Of course, it is there.
Yeah.
And
Well, we don't want to, once we say it, then we energize
Well,
them.
that's okay. I'll talk about it if you want.
anything. Oh, he loves to talk about it. But anything
Double Gemini, what do you
created
want?
will fight for its continued existence. And there are many horrible, huge, dark entities that were created specifically from a mass of severely abused children, not on purpose, but created from the negative thought patterns of the fear, the anger, the guilt, the shame, and those creatures are real. And what are they going to survive from? More of that same dysfunction, abuse. So they work, it all works hand in hand. All darkness works together, just like all light works together. And of course, light is always more powerful than the dark. The moment the battle will be gone, we won. We have won. These are just some of the residuals in this
It's a mop-up operation.
illusion.
Yeah, it's
Well,
what it
thousands
is.
of years later, though, so I mean, it's definitely taken some time to get to that point.
1,000 years is like this.
Thousands
It
of
really
years.
was yesterday.
What
This is Atlantis,
What
yeah.
was brought to me in a channel was that we are now in position, all of us, to be writing the new Bible of this millennia. That 2000 is gone. This 2000, with Jesus coming back, and the rest of the Holy Family, will be our lifetime.
Well, and one of the things right now, there are more Christs being born on the planet right now than in any time of our history. Right now, we are in that time. That's why I keep saying it's an accelerated time of ascension. So there are more Christs being born. That Christ energy is here. It's happening.
It's happened.
So
they have been.
We're here.
It's a collective, for sure.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a consortium, you might call it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, as far as the galactics and their
I felt like we didn't answer all the questions. You started something before and we kind of got sidetracked, I felt too.
Which
The very last question.
started
No. There was a question before about the grid too. I almost felt like we
Wait,
started
well,
going.
I was going to ask you about overlay of the grids. We were talking about Tesla's energy.
Oh yeah,
grid.
that's where we started going to that.
Okay,
Yes,
and
yes.
now you have the Gaia's grid, and I know there's grids that go all the way up.
Yeah,
like
40,
crisscross.
5D, 60, different types of
All right.
dimensional grids, multidimensional. But the thing is that there's different interception points, right, where some of the negative ET groups and Illuminati groups, the different deep state groups, different technologies, esoteric mechanisms, where they've tried to kind of pollute or cloud the actual
They're
grounding
shielding-
of that.
they're shielding.
It's just like with the 3G, 4G, 5G network on a basic level, but much more advanced technology even beyond that, that they've initiated and acting in different locations. So part of it's like us having to basically transcend the parameters of that frequency fence. Just like you transcending the limitations of your microwave from your cell phone exposure. And in general being in a city, as they being able to really anchor and ground like a lightning rod into that new love light coming out of the earth, and to be able to cut through the haze of this kind of like microwave days, around us, so that you can really regain your sovereignty over the spectrums, and that's part of the grids
Play
too.
about
is
divine sovereignty
is very
all the
important.
time, but the galactics, they like to ignore that.
Oh, yeah.
Because they.
Oh, it's always testing us with different social
Yeah,
contracts,
so
things, and
what-
memes and media. I mean, even with the thing going on the border, last group meditation we had for the new moon in Scorpio, which was the same day that that you had the shooter in LA at the borderline bar there, border something bar,
Yeah, yeah,
and when the fire first started.
Boy, they're line dancing or something, and he shot him.
Well, and it was, of course, I was ex-military, most likely like an MK Ultra, in my opinion, or someone was being triggered. But that night at the obelisk, during part of it, we're doing a lot with clearing out negative timelines and focusing on really bringing higher. There was a higher energy of Horus coming in, the divine, positive masculine energy in Egypt, higher bird tribe energies, to kind of shine his light into all these different cubes representing different doorways to different timelines, so that we can really begin to reset that whole idea of the timeline matrix into a new ascension, heart-based reality. And so during that, there was a little understanding about the idea of how sometimes these different social memes or social contracts can be used against us as a kind of twisting of like linguistics that's designed to try to usurp our free will. So all this stuff going on about the borders, for example, that was coming, I was saying, well, it's interesting, 'cause on the left-hand side, the idea of opening up all the borders and having a full open border, on a subliminal collective conscious level, can also be extrapolated in a negative way by saying, okay, it's almost like trying to make us feel guilty for having healthy boundaries in our life metaphysically. So it's not to let that stuff transpose into us psychologically, energetically. To be like, okay, and same time on the right, too far, all the closed borders, dams, walls, makes a block of all the energy. So you have the two extremes, truth is usually found somewhere in the middle,
So
being able to balance it
saying
out.
that the energy needs to flow without borders.
Yeah, well, and that's what having a healthy filter system, right? Just like having like a Brita filter, you don't want to just have a flood of contaminated water. But just, so these same ideas that energetically, etherically, the idea of healthy boundaries, which lets good stuff in but keeps the negative stuff out. But so the thing is that looking at a collective meme, that shooter was in the borderline, right, bar there, and then this next day the whole town of Paradise burned down. So to me, it's kind of like they were the negative groups on a subliminal were trying to put the energy about, we'll shoot you at the border and burn down Paradise on the date of the new moon in Scorpio, which was the real Halloween for the year. It was when when the veil's the thinnest. So there's this little interesting idea looking at like disempowering some of the subtle scripts that they try to entangle people into through fear, through these overt actions. And there were some really amazing pictures and videos of like these blue and green like laser beams coming down over different parts of California that were probably involved in creating the fire. Yeah, yeah. So it's definitely not just not a natural situation, you know. But again, it's like they're getting more desperate to try to raise up more of our lower root chakra fixation and survival mechanism, and we need to really bring the love energy down to that foundation. Like, no, we do not. You know, we need to quarantine them energetically and be like, no, we're here to build a new reality, not to keep playing with the old. You know?
It's really beautiful out there in California, and the weather is, you know. But I'm telling you, I don't think now. There's a lot of things I can think about getting.
Because it's such a power in the nature. California, to me, was one of the most powerful energy structures in nature, and so that's really been under such attack.
Basically, most of it's a fault.
Yeah, yeah, that as well. Yeah, speaking of the edge of some of these larger structures, we're working on clearing out a line that was going from like Costa Rica up through Mexico up to Seattle. This other edge of that, literally just like last night.
Fault line runs through Seattle.
Well, there was more like an edge of one of the hypercube points. Hypercube, because one of the points is in Costa Rica. There's one in Hawaii, one in England by Wales. So the more recent work we've been focused on doing, and in terms of being of service, because a lot of it's like, you know, we have to find our own world of service. What do we come to do, not just for our own personal karma, but where have we come to, you know, really shine love and light to be able to transmute and be a way shower for something that we want to replace the old with, right? So sometimes we do a little bit of dredging up the swamp and cleaning out some of the crabs so we can be able to build a more permanent structure that's not going to be dissolved. You know?
Were you doing that in France?
No, France was different. France
was where it was starting again. They were trying to get a foothold.
Well, France is where last fall when I was visiting. Actually, my girlfriend out there, well, she was finishing some work out there.
You had to go over to France to get a girlfriend?
Well, no, she lives here.
What's the matter with New York?
No, she was doing a program there for a few months. But I couldn't barely do any spiritual work out there. There was such a, that was a very dark point during those several months when some of the negative groups were trying to reactivate this dark global shadow web network.
The web.
And like with these like large tick-like entities and more the negative like octopi, spider groups, the combination of these negative ET groups that use different insect or animal forms to try to further their intention.
How could you forget?
So we were doing a lot of work this past year on helping to like deconstruct some of the octopus grids that are like more like the negative octopi humanoid grids and dark web structures. You know, so that's more the lower stuff. But it's important because it's understanding, you know, it's like clearing out the background static so you can have a clear signal, you know, of higher connection without all this interference. You know,
those negative ETs that we've been discussing here. Okay, well, you're on the other side and you're doing your little intergalactic hop up there.
Intergalactic hop.
You know,
I love it.
You know, be on somebody's council and stuff like that, you know.
I am on autopilot. I go where I'm needed the most, and there are infinite realities, infinite timelines, infinite dimensions, and a lot of places.
Are they, like, say you're up there and there's a group, we'll just say for now, for argument's sake, reptilians.
Okay.
Okay. And in this dimension that you happen to, because it's the infinite ones, they're good reptilians.
There are.
And another one, they're just plain evil. You know, so.
On one level, there is no good and evil.
So
on one level, it's just, it is.
It is what it is.
But yeah, I've come across countless darkest entities, and I've come back with the physical marks, like claw marks across my chest, my back, broken bones, and in any case, and they used to take pictures. You know, I'd get up 3 o'clock in the morning and have all these markings, claw marks.
Nobody else was there with you.
Wow.
Depends on the day.
Well, anyway. So, and I say, and I would say, well, you know who I am? In the morning, it'll be gone. Yeah. And then in the morning, it would be gone. I would heal it, you know, as I go back in and I go back out. But a lot of times I would go and I would get the X-rays, the MRIs, and then after I have that proof, then I would just get rid of it like this. Now, when I used to do that a lot, where I would come back with all those markings. It very rarely happens now, because a lot of times what I do when I come across these entities, a lot of them, as soon as they come across, they're in fear, because I'm having all this light from source just flowing through me, and I used to just automatically transmute them into light. They don't exist anymore. They just scatter. Now what I do is I actually give them a choice. Yeah, because like I said earlier, anything created will fight for its continued existence. So when I come across them, I let them know that they can still exist, they can exist in the light. And I show them exactly what that looks like, what that feels like. I bring them to that point, and I give them the choice.
And then at that point,
They always choose the light. It doesn't matter how dark they are. This one dark entity didn't convert completely, and she was created by these people that were jealous of this baby's parents, to really harm the child. And when I came across it and I gave her the option of transforming, she actually didn't transform completely, but she chose to stay with that child to protect that child through that child's entire life from any more darkness that was going to be sent to her or to her parents.
okay.
So
You think that,
and by the way, there's other worlds that actually call on light workers from Earth to do tremendous amount of healing, and because we have so many Christs right now. We have so many beautiful, strong, and powerful white lighters on this planet.
one of the latest things that become to Aldefina, even with Josephine too, is they've been harvesting eggs from the women to of these women, the birth of a new nation. And whether it's on this planet, see, people think, oh, there's no life on Mercury. There certainly is. It's just
different frequency.
In a form that you recognize.
Right, different frequency.
All right. And, you know, and when they say that, they're looking at Mars and they're seeing, like, maybe the remnants of a pyramid or a face in the sand. They say, oh, no, that's just the way the camera is. Yeah, okay. All right. We know what that is. You know, so now I was going to ask you before, the galactic councils that you're on and that you have associations with, they come with all sorts of entities. Are all those entities of light, or are they entities
Absolutely.
Of all of light?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, the Karmic Board, there are members of the Karmic Board that do want to hold on to that system, that they're not, more so now they're ready to let go, but in the past, there were some members that wanted to hold on to it. And I think that some of those members are letting go now, and it is happening.
So I always hear people say that,
how does that work?
karma this and karma that. And I always tell them, I'm not under karmic law, I'm under grace. And that's it.
Awesome. And that's another thing. You know, as people are working on themselves, even if they're just working on themselves and doing the forgiveness, bringing themselves to have that self-love and raise their frequency and vibrations, just working on themselves, they are absolutely making the world a better place and every reality a better place, because they're raising their frequency and vibrations. Everywhere they go, the energy is raising, it's rising. So, you know, I appreciate when people do, you know, take stock and they clean out that darkness, they clean out those negative thought patterns, and they truly, even if they're just working on themselves, it's beautiful, because it really does make the world a better place.
It's definitely critical, because also
Absolutely.
a lot of the negative groups will, you know, one of the ways that they're still trying to come in is basically through people that are not being accountable to their stuff. They are becoming more doorways for some of the negative groups and negative ETs to try to extend their sphere of influence and use the people as a remote portal system to try to funnel the energy in to influence other people. Exactly, it's like almost like a dark version of like acupuncture needles. You know, trying to use people to weave like negative lines of force as opposed to a positive, you know, kind of system. So we need to shut down those portals to people.
It's unfortunate, but I've come to find quite a few times come across false light beings pretending to be beings of light, bringing people in, and then just convoluting them with
nonsense.
Yeah, there are a lot.
Cesspool.
And that's a lot of those teachers do teach with limitations.
Yes,
and
they do.
Yeah.
And it's very dangerous. And
Absolutely.
it's disturbing because, you know, it's come to me quite a few times. I'm like, did you see somebody in a session just recently? And they're like, yes, but it didn't help me. I don't feel good. And I was like, okay. Clear them, clear their energy, go back to their problems, their issues, clear that, go to the past, clear that. It takes quite a bit of work to do that. They have to be willing. Remember, everybody needs help, but we have to help those who want to help themselves that are ready to evolve.
Absolutely, and that's the best way to help someone is to bring them so that they can help themselves. They can continue to do the work for themselves on their own, and then pass it on.
Right, give them
with no limitations.
Give tools and components to help themselves bring light into themselves, understand that their watch their thoughts and their words, because those are their feelings, and that's what they bring into existence. And all those, all the important things that we,
When you're bringing them across, you have a class, and you're bringing them across.
To the other side?
To the other side.
Okay.
Now they're going to a light place where there's light and everything else like that.
Right, no negatives can exist.
When I went that time and I went across, I went there and there was Jesus or God at the head of the table, and there was all these guys that looked like Moses or Leon Russell, one or the other, and I was like a little boy holding onto the table looking at them, and I knew they saw me, and she was there the second time that happened.
Yes, and the lioness
She was there.
of God.
Okay, awesome.
Scratch me.
The
That's
Christ.
the marks.
Wow.
Yeah, okay.
So she's the one with the claw marks?
She's
Nails.
She said, George, I don't like that shirt.
We don't need to use these. We have a sword.
The last
That
show,
sword is
it was an estrogen fest. This is a testosterone
Just a
fest.
scratch, not a cut.
Oh, wow. I have a healthy balance of both. I'm good.
She can hold space.
Take that, Aldefina. Anyway. So as I was saying, like, when they start going on their own, what's the possibilities of them going into a negative realm?
There is no possibility. As long as you have pure positive intentions, and as long as you're continuing, and as long as you know with absolute certainty that you are infinite, eternal, your energy is infinite, eternal, you are powerful, you are God. So nothing negative can happen when you're doing that work. When you're going to the other side, nothing can jump in. And a lot of people teach that, okay, you have to be careful because something can, jump in. When they say that fear, now with that fear, that creates it, and that interferes with their progress. Yeah. But when you're on that level and you really have pure intentions, and nothing can jump in.
All right. I had something I had to ask you. I was just going to ask you.
I thought you probably would have a lot of questions.
I have a lot of questions. I do. But I can't remember what the one I wanted to ask you, because you went off on this tirade there. I forgot what the hell.
I did? I went on a tirade?
I don't know. Maybe a slight one.
One of the things I do is I do go off sometimes.
That's okay.
Steve, does that ever happen to you? Do you go off?
I'm a double Gemini, of course.
You're a double Gemini.
My sun and moon Gemini.
Boy.
They get together.
Cancer rising.
Cancer rising. I'm a Libra with a Libra rising. And
my God, double
Capricorn moon.
Okay, that's the
I'm an Italian with Sicilian rising from Etna. Okay.
Temper rising.
What are you?
I'm just a being of
She's
love and light.
godmother.
Yeah.
So I did have some issue about that on the other side. We were talking about councils. That wasn't it. We were talking about going negative.
One of the things I like to do when I go to the council, maybe this will help you, because we were talking about karma before, when I bring people to the other side, a lot of times after I do forgiveness, we rip up their karmic contracts, obligations, and we do it in front of the council. I actually just did a session last week with a client, and I brought her superconscious mind forward. That's the observer part of her oversoul.
That's a God connection.
Yeah, so there's no judgment, but has every bit of information, knows everything. So I bring forward the superconscious mind, and with that session, we work on every single level for her to heal, to realize her goals. We started with the emotional level, and they were having difficulty. The superconscious mind was having difficulty. I get permission from Source to do all the work, and once that permission comes, and then I entered. So I'm on the emotional level, and as this was happening, I mean, the screaming, the crying that was going on, and as soon as the image changed, as soon as we cleared it, the superconscious mind let me know that it was all the work was done there. We went to every level, energetic, aura, chakras, cells, DNA. The last level that we worked on was the spiritual level, and we're on the other side, and her karmic contract was actually, that was the last thing, that was one of the things that was holding her back from realizing her goal. But of course, we have all suffered enough. So while I was in there with her superconscious mind, we ripped up, we destroyed the contract, and then all of a sudden, her entire image transformed while we were on that level. And then the superconscious mind, let me know that all the work was done, clear, perfect, karma-free, and now realizing her goals.
If you take a person who's just
Right.
been through all of that,
Harmonious progression.
there would be no point in regressing them after that because they've already been clean.
Absolutely. Well, we worked on all those levels. We went to every level. There's infinite levels. And with the superconscious mind, I went to all those levels all at the same time. So we went back into past lives. We went everywhere, in every direction,
But
every
there would be
timeline.
no need for a regression.
No. No, because we just did it,
You just did it.
while we were there.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Powerful session.
You know, you said something before that you are God, and that's true. If you go to your Bible, Jesus even says it to his apostles. Didn't I tell you that you are God, and far greater things that I have done, that I do, you shall do.
Absolutely.
Okay. So why would you think that you're anything less?
Because they want you to believe that
They
you're...
want you to
Right.
believe that. They want to hit you so much with this 3D stuff right between the eyes that you believe everything that you go on. If you don't give it any, you don't empower it, it falls away. No matter what it is. Don't empower the fear. Don't empower all the negative aspects of fear, worry, envy, jealousy. Don't be a part of that. You know, don't be a part of that at all. Because when you do that, you do yourself a disservice, and you actually negate who you really are, a child of God. Sound good, huh?
Sounds great.
Open heart.
Well, yeah, I mean, same. I definitely agree with everything you're saying. And sometimes when we're doing some of the work as well, and doing grid work or doing individual work with clients, you know, we're also trying to see, or you know.
Do you start off with a forgiveness thing
For me, it's a basic. I do invocations at the beginning for the 6 directions, calling the archangels of the different directions. You know, which is like kind of like the points of the cube or the octahedron. So you're kind of honoring the earth element and the grounded space you're in. You know, then I go more through a guided channel journey process with energy work to help access what the client needs for the next step, basically.
The next step.
So it could be different kind of codings. It could be past life integration. Could be reconnecting them to their galactic temples. You know, it depends on what we're doing with it. I also have a special group of some clients that have had more intensive experiences, and I've had some military abductions or involved in the military or had satanic ritual abuse done and some really intense stuff. So that requires a little more delicate care and much more intensive kind of soul retrieval and aspects of reweaving, healing some of the fragmentation of the personas.
By that?
Oh, I've definitely had some intense retribution. I have to shield myself a lot more, but also it teaches me more about understanding, you know, because that part of the idea of being like an alchemist and a spiritual alchemist is you know to be able to bring, it's like having a raw element.
As a cosmic shaman.
Yeah,
it's
like having a big piece of charcoal. You'll make a diamond out of it. Requires intense pressure and heat, and so sometimes we take on a lot of that.
I just thought it required a trip to Tiffany.
Yeah, that's it, right? So you can do it the easier way, right? Just a bigger wallet there. You know, so sometimes it's, you know, you're working with that raw material, and you know, you learn new facets of how to bring unity into separation, and that is part of the task is you know, understanding like how the shadow side or darker groups more are the ones that have made their negative progression of going into higher dimensional negative realms. You know, they're a lot about separation and trying to, you know, use the ego against the masses, so to speak, because they don't really believe in love. They see love as a weakness, which is obviously a sad illusion for them. You know, but the point is that, you know, their system is inherently entropic and chaotic because they don't have a real center. So they have to spend so much energy trying to maintain this false order or this control surveillance society, you know, in order to keep that false grid in place.
It's like George Orwell,
Exactly.
1984.
Exactly. That's also why they're so obsessive with their micromanaging and trying to maintain the precision of this darker kind of collective web to try to keep people in a certain kind of range of frequencies, because they understand that once we break out of that, then we are able to access more of the unlimited state that he's talking about.
This is a question
you
for
know.
both of you. Have you noticed the absolute level of hatred that's being perpetuated by the media?
Unbelievable.
And by politics, whether it's in this country or anywhere else?
Yeah.
And
the level of hatred like I have
divide and
never
conquer
seen
it's the same methodology
in my
amplified.
life.
Yeah.
And these people are just, they don't get it. They don't get it.
They're
Well, they
feeding
do
the
get
polarity.
it. They just
They do
work
get
for they.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And the ones that don't are becoming more like the sheeple idea again, where they're getting their trigger points and they're getting too sensitized by a lot of this political play of being overly PC in the way they're raising some of the educational system of the children. And even in college, I have some friends in there where professors were, you know, think about stuff we have in our day or even older, you know, things that are getting away with now, and the way they're twisting some of the ideology is so crazy. Like, you know, where people are so overly sensitized to say anything that's not PC be, where a student can tell a professor, oh, I'm sorry if you're talking about something that's triggering me, so therefore a professor has to stop talking about the subject. Instead of actually teaching, they have to be overly sensitized to the fact that this kid can't heal their own shit. Basically, they can't heal their own shadow. So now we have to give our power away to overly recognizing all this other division of all these different genders, 31 genders in Europe. What is a different idea? Literally, 21 or 31.
They want you to be tolerant to everybody else is trying to kill you, and the ones that you want to save everybody from getting killed by these groups, okay? And they slap you down. They call you every name in the book. I mean, where's the common sense?
Well, exactly. It's like the ones who become abused become the abuser in that sense.
This is why we ask everyone to try and bring in the gifts of discernment. The discernment is the wisdom. Bring that forward, clear your heart center, forgive everyone, and see where it goes from there.
Yep, always work on you. Forgive everyone, free everyone from karma.
In the beginning.
Right. If you want to change anything, you change yourself first, and then you can change the current
Which is also why they're getting so desperate in terms of their tactics. You can see, like I said, with the media and politics of that, because the energy frequency of Gaia is shifting, is rising higher. Human resonance, different energies coming to planet. Gaia's Kundalini is getting more liberated. The geometries are shifting in her grid system, so she can become more like an attuned crystal that is able to pick up on higher transmissions from our positive star nations and galactic allies. So they have to try to increase the fear-based quotient, and have people put value under false sense of liberty that's not real true liberty. It's just like this ego identification with the label of giving you a false freedom that you can now call yourself this or that, or like having like active discourse with an unlimited bandwidth.
It's amazing. It's amazing to get somebody a title.
Yeah.
They take right off.
Entitlement combined with victimization doesn't make a nice duo.
No, they don't. I tell you, they're like sheep. They don't realize the enslavement. They're like sheep.
They're so powerful because a lot of these people are star kids and millennials, the younger ones. They have a lot more. There's more openness to the DNA. There's more empathy. There's more creativity. But a lot of it's trying to be funneled into more of a shadow way that corrals them into a false sense of self, as opposed to a true liberated ability to co-create a new vision together, and unite together instead of dividing. That's what we need to be able to do. So.
And that's why I have the foundation where I have a charity organization where our vision is to build a community of self-sufficient homesteads where I have highly enlightened, highly qualified volunteers taking in foster children from the earliest stages, babies, infants, toddlers, and then raising them with that love, with that guidance, the nurturing, and teaching them how to think for themselves, knowing
is that through their own parents, or is that through
it's going to be from volunteers, because the foster care system, usually the ones that aren't going to be reunited with their parents, whether they're in prison, whether they're deceased, or they just don't care, because a lot of parents, whether they're severely addicted to drugs, they're off. They don't care. They don't even want to see their child. Nope. So with this, they're going to learn. You're going to have coping skills. They're going to learn meditation. They're going to learn self-hypnosis from the earliest stages at their own pace. And for me, when you're raising a child with that and growing their own food and learning how to critically think creatively, and think for themselves, you're making generations going forward of beautiful, teaching them how to live a life. With meaning and purpose and
them how to live as
confidence.
What they're supposed to be.
Right.
The child of God.
Exactly. So they're going to grow knowing their true, eternal, infinite self from the earliest ages. And one of the ideas is like, the expression, if I knew then what I know now, how things would be different. Well, I want to give them all of that from the earliest ages. Because what do they teach you in school? They don't teach you relationships. They don't teach you.
If you act out just a little bit, you got every single thing they label.
Because they get money for the medication.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not even.
It's shutting down the DNA too of some of these things.
Absolutely, yeah.
Once you label somebody, you negate them. You negate who they are. Okay. And when you start labeling these kids and giving them medications like Ritalin and stuff like that, when I was a kid and went to school, we had kids who did that stuff. Damn, I acted out too. All right?
I bet you did.
I was going to say.
I did. That's why I'm a talk show host. Okay. Why? You never done it? Go ahead. God. Everybody's so innocent out there. Oh no, I was
well, I think your audience is very innocent.
Well, for now. Anyway.
But no, it's true. That's so much of what they're giving those kids now is definitely designed to again create false labels of extra division and delineation. That's not
nothing but division.
And it's a fake kind of way of trying to say we're honoring their individuality when it's the opposite. It's just creating a more of a consensus of this false entitlement, also false labeling, so that they can give them things that actually shut down their third eye and more of their chakras. chakras so that they're not able to fully access their true powers they came with and get just more numb. I mean, I've had people, I've read other like people like in college that, you know, there were certain colleges that right away, if they go to, say, tell the school psychologist that they're depressed, right away they'll give them, they'll give them antidepressants without actually even trying to deal with anything emotionally, mentally going on. Right away, just give them the medication.
Here's a miracle
exactly.
But that's why we're here.
You know,
we're here to help them understand who they are without having to go to the psychologist.
Exactly, that's the point. Exactly, help them actually get to the core of that.
Get to the core.
Heal that abandonment, heal the heart issues of separation.
Right.
You know. He has anger issues. He has this. You know, he's a 5-year-old kid who's stomping his feet when he doesn't get his own way. What the hell's wrong with you?
Exactly.
Trying to pigeonhole these kids as having anger issues and this, that, the other.
Well, they have an agenda, and that's why they're doing that.
Or give them the hormone suppressant ones for kids that are supposed to being able to decide that they want to be transgender at like age 10 or something, when it's like they haven't hit puberty yet and they think they can decide their gender. It's like, you know, it's like, give me a break. They're being so crazy and trying to like take advantage of that youthful energy and want to suppress, because hormones will all affect your chakras, all your endocrine glands. So if you're trying to reverse that polarity, literally of what you already chose to come into, you know, just because you know, in our day, whatever day, okay, fine. If you feel like you're like a female inside a male body, you like balance out your polarity or whatever. Or if you want to be homosexual, whatever, it's fine. Your orientation doesn't matter. But it's more like but now because there's like a medical escapism clause, so to speak, and all therapists won't want to give you special credit if you're now choosing that. To me, it's like bastardizing your own kind of, I think, in a way, soul-body contract, because you're not actually coming in and dealing with your stuff. You want to find a quick escape route to change it back to maybe a comfort zone. Like, for example, like a soul, maybe
find nirvana.
Well, or like, for example, like maybe a lot of lifetimes. Say, if I might have been a female, right? Now I'm male, but then I may not be comfortable because I had a lot of female lifetimes. So, yeah, exactly. Right. But I mean, but instead of integrating it, right? You know, I'm going to choose to go the other route so fast, and I'm going to, you know, practically castrate myself. It's like, well, why do I want to do that? It's like, first, how about we do with psychology healing? Yeah, no, and I also know some friends that.
A lot of blood and problems.
Oh no, some friends that work in the medical field, and a lot of these people who do that, and a lot of men getting very suicidal, very depressed afterwards. They're in so much pain and constantly taking all the hormonal pills. So it's like, yeah, maybe if they dealt with that inner harm, balancing out the male-female and healing that emotional, maybe they wouldn't choose to go that route yet. They'd accept themselves and accept that maybe there's a reason they chose this body this time to balance out a longer continuum of other choices, instead of like just being given like a Western quick medicine pill to, you know, get out of it.
You notice the medicines you get here. I mean, you go to the doctor, nobody cures anything. They give you something to mask it.
Yeah, yeah.
My back hurts. Here, take this Oxy. Next thing you know, you get the next set of generation of.
Because.
Well, and it's also like
treating the symptom and not the person. They have to treat the whole person, but they're just treating, you know, the symptom, and that's the problem. We have plenty of geriatric doctors. Also,
like our inner polarity with the masculine and feminine, because it's, you know, they're really trying to like reduce it in a way that it's almost like trying to create a false unity when they're just making it like into a darker neutrality. It's like being neutral doesn't mean you're unified. It just means that you're just stuck in between, haven't really balanced out your polarity because you're afraid to fully be either fully masculine or feminine, to find this androgyny. But a lot of them are trying to push that idea of being like, oh, in between asexual or not this or that. It's like having a battery that doesn't have enough charge in it, so therefore you're not going to feel any pull either way. So there's both this like emasculization of the divine masculine at the same time. That must be all that confused energy I feel all the time. That's exactly. No, it really is. It's all spinning around. There is so much confusing energy out there. I'm like, what is this? Because we're supposed to be balancing that. Confuse this and unravel this? It is confusing. You just want to just pull them by the shoulders and say, hey. You know. It's like clockwise, counterclockwise. You know, but they want to do something in between. Anytime we can. How if somebody brings their son to you who's not sure what he wants to do or what he feels he is? All right, now are you going to transgress them? Or are you going to take them? Well, no one has brought on the physical plane. No one has brought a child to me, but on the astral plane, yes. And it's, you know what? I don't have to know exactly what they need or what needs to be done. I know that I'm giving them exactly what they need to heal on every level. When I'm sharing this beautiful, pure love, white light healing energy, directly from the source of creation, directly from God, the universe, the multiverse. And as you're giving them that energy on that level, they're going to get the answers. They're going to get the healing. They're going to get the understanding and the awareness of what they need to do and be comfortable with themselves and make better decisions. Absolutely. Right. And, you know, and we've done this across the board with children even with autism. You know, we've done this where after doing it, autism is gone. And, you know, where they say there's for most of it there's no cure, right? Is that what they say? I don't know if we're in that reality. But we do that on an energetic level and it's gone on the physical plane.
parents got the lesson, everyone around them got the lesson, they learned it in the easiest, quickest, most positive, most beneficial manner for their highest good, their ultimate happiness. And that's one of the things that I give the intention when I'm doing this healing work is for the person that I'm working with or the group, is for them to learn their lesson, if any more, in this lifetime, in the easiest, quickest, most positive, most beneficial manner for their highest good and their ultimate happiness.
Right.
Beautifully said.
Because you don't have to learn from the negative. You don't have to learn anymore from the pain and the suffering. You've suffered enough. Everyone has suffered enough. And now is your time to be free.
You should make a mantra out of that. I've suffered enough, I'm not going to take it anymore.
I think they did that already.
It's a movie. I know.
It's a song by Barbara Streisand. Enough is enough is enough.
Oh, that's true.
Barbara Streisand, where'd you get that from?
That was true, actually.
Is that a song?
Yeah, enough is
She
enough.
said enough is enough.
I haven't heard that so long.
She was on a...
We're down to
Way before my time.
Which timeline now? No.
Well, come on.
70s?
I wasn't born yet.
No, see, he wasn't born yet.
Oh my God.
No, they was dropped off by a little George Washington spaceship. They brought little Jaguar.
The pod.
They maybe sent it to the school. We had the greatest cartoons when we were growing up. Now they're like, what the heck is these?
Well, except the Marvel series are good though.
Yeah.
It's all about the DNA changing and people with powers developing and government going after them. They're definitely
I mean,
trying to
have you
reveal
noticed
information
how this
about
stuff,
that.
How this stuff reflects. Hey, you know, all this stuff from Star Trek, I was just talking about it the other day. You know, some of the different things like a planet that's an amusement planet, but they didn't know it. And they landed on it.
Yeah.
This is the amusement planet. You manifest what you want when you know how to do it, you know, and have the life you want to have. Is that
Absolutely. Absolutely.
you know, and I'm saying these things, where did, what's his name, the guy who created it, Gene Roddenberry, I think it was, right? There's no doubt about it that this guy was advanced. Well, he had
Star Trek,
contact. What was that?
You mean from Star Trek?
Oh,
Yeah.
Absolutely. He had too much knowledge.
No, he's definitely got input. There was a guy named Wes Bateman that was one of his friends who was a channeler back in the 50s and was telling him about the Federation planets and things like that too. It was, you know, so there's definitely a lot of that behind the scenes influence.
You could speak. Okay. We're good.
Almost 5 minutes.
Almost 5 minutes. Okay.
That's great. I think we were going further.
When do you end your show? I never get it right.
Well, 5 minutes could be 20.
Right, that's what yeah.
Because there's infinite possibilities.
Absolutely.
It's right there.
Absolutely. The time doesn't even exist.
I saw that, but that doesn't
Right, and time doesn't exist. Right, exactly.
Try to do the numerology as it's still moving.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Fluctuating permutations.
So to kind of wrap this up, Stephen, on the galactic plane, okay, what do we really need to look out for? I mean, is the good is overcome the
Well,
darkness.
we really need to push for like more public disclosure on the parts of all of our governments. We really need to put an intention out to release any negative contracts that our shadow governments, corporations have made with the negative ET groups, and really demand for more of a public disclosure where we have an admission that there are these covert space programs. We have had alien contact for many, many years, and that we need to release the technology that's being covertly held or being used in these underground bases, and you release it so we can actually help heal the Earth and get rid of this oil-based economy and transform us to work with more like ethical, real green technology that will be more heart-centered based, and that we want to, and that it's like as above, so below, having a more conscientious choice where when enough of the positive extraterrestrials or the higher light councils realize humanity is really ready and open their hearts and wants to call that invitation in, so that we can actually sit down and have this more balanced exchange, and that we want to draw the line, like you said, not suffer anymore with any of these negative shadow groups' influence over the matrix or the false grids that they've established over time, but that we really demand that we're drawing a line in the sand. We want to create that positive timeline where we're like a positive United Nations, where we're here with our star nations, who can help exchange with us and help us prepare for that shift in a more balanced manner, and that's really important. And it starts with ourselves making your own personal contact or choice, if you want to be like, I want to reconnect to my own star nation heritage, be the emissary that I've come to be from whatever star system you're from.
Do you know where you're from?
From quite a few, yeah. Yeah, I also got around for quite a bit. I mean, there's a certain group.
Did you use the word avatar?
At times I would use that. I mean, there's a group in Arcturus that I work a lot with. That's part of the real Asgard, where Thor and Odin group really come from. There's nothing but one of my homes, so I work a lot with that group. There's another group in the Pleiades that are more connected with Isis Hathor energies. You know, that's what's very powerful. But also with a group from Andromeda. But that gets longer story. But the point is, even if you don't know,
Did it come from Orion? That's what I am.
Oh, Orion was one of my six-dimensional homes. It's kind of like I originally came from a place outside the galaxy, and I stepped down the dimensions before I got into the local sector here. And Orion was one of the places, and that's also we started encountering more of the darker groups at Set, and like the darker Orion Empire. That's been part of our cesspool around us.
Right.
You know,
there are people who have been sent here on a mission to actually help with clear those grid lines.
Exactly, to be able to really draw a line of sand
we also
for
have
the AI
encoded,
technologies as well.
Right.
There's a lot of interference with the AI energies trying to block the positive planetary energies coming in, not just from other star systems, but our local, we need to start with our local family and our solar system. Like in the tree of life, the planets correlate to points in the body, as well as in our astrology. So there's been a lot of attempts to try to suppress that, or collapse the dimensional waveforms coming from our local planetary family to try to diminish us. So we need to expand our size of our volume of our bodies so we can be able to, look, we honor our local family, so we make a bridge to our star nations and invite them here at the table with us.
Now, Joshua.
I don't think I have much time, right?
You have 2 minutes.
Do I have 2 minutes?
Take a minute and a half, 'cause I gotta thank our sponsors.
So I'll say it quickly then. One of the last things he was saying is, and what I always say is to always work on you. Bring yourself to raise your frequency vibrations, do the forgiveness, free yourself of any karma. You've suffered enough. In doing that, you're making this world a better place. And where he was talking about the disclosure, even if you're just working on yourself and the people around you, the disclosure is going to happen. So it's not like you have to physically go somewhere and do it or continuously focus and concentrate on it. As you're working on you, again, we're in an accelerated time of ascension. So that disclosure is just going to happen. So you don't have to really be overly concerned with it. It is going to happen. And again, just do the forgiveness, and if you have pure positive intentions for others, even if you're not at your perfect self, and I like to bring people to be their perfect selves, to allow their higher self to shine through with every step they take, but even if you're not on that level yet, just by giving your pure positive intentions to others, by freeing others with forgiveness, you are healing yourself and you are continuously raising your frequencies.
Let me thank our sponsors.
Speak the spoken blessings and you become a blessing.
I have to do a sponsors.
Right?
Okay. First,
Namaste.
I want to thank my crew, Christine and Richie and Tracy, wherever he is, and Anna Rose, she's in there, Brian. I feel like the lady on Romper Room. I see Bobby, I see Billy, And our sponsors, Antonio's Pork Store for the food in Tottenville, and Aardvark Pest Control in Great Kills, my very good friend Vincent. And our distinguished panel here, Stephen, say your last name.
You can do it.
Okay. And Joshua.
Thank you very much for having me.
The lovely
Thank you.
Josephine. Oh, I'm sorry. She's an aspect. Josephine Perone.
Right. Just remember this week is Thanksgiving. Be
Happy
grateful for
Thanksgiving.
all your blessings.
And my birthday.
And, have and your birthday.
Happy birthday coming up.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
So sit with your
29.
family and give thanks for all the wonderful things that transpire in your
Bye
life.
now.
Bless
Love and light. Peace out.
Oh, you can clap louder than that. A little louder.
It's not Leo season yet. It's all right.
Knock our ratings right now.